crypto warriors, changing our world day by day. The way of the crypto warriors, can't rely on the bankers, no way.
Good morning, this is Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com with your morning horn of Z's, your sip of chaga coffee. Yes, take your chaga, take your vitamin D, C60. Had a new discussion with Ken Swartz over at Purple Power C60. I'll show you that. We couldn't put it on YouTube, obviously, because YouTube doesn't want you to be healthy, but on the Road to Ruta we do. So I'll show you where you can find that one. That is for public consumption, just not on YouTube. All right, let's talk about Evergrande. Now, why is Evergrande important? Every little bit of market manipulation in our system has to stay intact. There can be no little tiny piece or large piece that falls apart and the rest stays together. The game is so intricately organized with computers and derivatives that the whole world will fall apart even if just one of these legs of the stool fall off. And Evergrande is that trigger of the property market, the housing market, the condo market, the commercial property market. And it feeds into the banking system with all the debt. So here's what's going on today. The 28th of December is Evergrande has a payment due date today. Now, we already know they missed a smaller payment in November, and then they missed the grace period, which is 30 days. Not making a bond payment, coupon payment on time is a huge red flag. Huge red flag. Not paying it after 30 days is a default. Now, they're calling it something different. They're calling it a selective default. Fitch, there's three main rating agencies. There's Moody's, there's S&P, and there's Fitch. These are the ones that decide whether or not a company can pay its debts or not. And with their decisions have massive ramifications of how people are required by law to book certain deals, loans and the such, bonds and the such, on their books at the end of the year. What they deem so far, and this is from Fitch, right after the 30-day payment the 30-day grace period was missed on the smaller amount that was due. Fitch downgrades Evergrande and subsidiaries Hinjidachi to restricted default. Restricted default meaning basically, hey, they defaulted, but it's just one. So we're going to call it restricted default. Maybe they were just having a problem. We all know they're having a massive problem. We know this is a planned setup. If you go to the Road to Ruta on the private road, I posted a timeline. This was the trigger, the Evergrande default. Now, we are at a point where I think it's for 3 times as much as large a payment is due. $255 million is due today on billions of dollars in bonds. A default today may trigger and should trigger at least Fitch to say, okay, this is not a selective default. This is a company-wide default, meaning it puts all of the bonds in default. And then Moody's, which has kind of done the same thing. Moody's report came out in September, and, they haven't said much. S&P said it was a selective default as well. S&P dumps Chinese property giant Evergrande into default. Not default, selective of default of that specific bond. If they miss the payment today, it's kind of hard for Fitch, Moody's, and S&P to argue that this is just a selective default when they miss 2 in a row payments. Now, they might say, oh, we'll give them a 30-day grace period, which means all the other bonds don't have to declare that they're worthless, that they're in default. Now, China is not going to play the game of the Westerners. China is going to say, hey, here's what you do, Evergrande. Continue to build your houses in our country. Do not under any circumstances, pay the Westerners on their bond. Don't pay coupons. Don't give them a penny. But do not declare bankruptcy either. Do not declare bankruptcy. Do not give the bondholders a penny. Right now, Moody's, Fitch, all of them are saying, oh, they're going to get, 30% on the dollar on these bonds or whatever it is. They're going to get nothing. This is a plan. We are in a global financial war, and China is winning that war. Right now, China holds the trigger. As I discussed yesterday on my Road to Ruta, go to Road to Ruta YouTube channel, I discussed what China was doing. What they were doing is starting to build houses again. Now, if they were in bankruptcy, they could not do that because the bondholders have priority under Western law. Evergrande is domiciled in like the Cayman Islands or something like that. And it would have to go through a Western type bankruptcy if they declared bankruptcy. But China's saying, bullshit, that ain't going to happen. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to continue to build these houses. You're going to pay off your Chinese suppliers. And you're going to not pay off anything in the West, completely busting the globalization rules of fair play. So that's what's happening. It will be so if Evergrande does not declare bankruptcy, but does not pay their creditors, the Western legal system says, oh, they could go in, bondholders can go in and seize the company and seize the properties. It's in China, though, and China's already saying, no, you're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to finish building these condos for people. They've already paid you for them. Yes, it was massive leverage. I got a bug right here. I'm trying to get it. There was massive leverage, and it's much more than $300 billion because they guaranteed a hell of a lot of stuff. And then think about the add-ons. Who's going to get hit? There's a lot of talk that the Tether money was held in Evergrande bonds. I would say probably. Why? Because they were the highest paid bond issuances. And Tether's all about making money. We can't just have money just sitting there. We would have put it in cryptos if they had the real money. So that could be another thing. Once Evergrande, not to mention BlackRock and all these big banks that have Evergrande bonds, and those who wrote derivatives on Evergrande bonds, this is one of those chair legs. You pull that leg out, everything goes. So that's where we are. Right now, China is going to say, no, do not declare bankruptcy. And then Fitch, Moody's, and S&P, Fitch, Moody's, and S&P are going to have to make the call. Do we say, yes, the entire bond structure is in default, which triggers a lot of things, and then it's going to surprise the Western bankers, and the bondholders are going to get zero. And when they put them in default, that means huge write-downs in 2000 for the 2021. If they do this before Friday, this is 2021. Now, this has a lot to do with how fast they want this shit to collapse. It's going to collapse. I just don't know. I have a feeling they're going to make some startling announcements very soon, as in this week, as to the Evergrande collapse. And it's kind of, truthfully, Fitch, Moody's, and S&P are being told what to do. But if you want to pull the Band-Aid, Fitch, Moody's, and S&P, when they miss this payment today, you declare all of their bonds in default, which triggers a hell of a lot of things, which the Westerners will try to get their lawyers on, take control of the company, and China's going to say, get out of here. It ain't going to happen, my friend. And that creates a gigantic issue for anybody who's got anything invested financially in China, which is a huge market. We are at war. Make no mistake, we are at war. So that's where we are. If I wanted to drag it along, if I was China and wanted to drag it along, I'd make these payments, $250 million. They can, obviously. The Chinese government can just give them $250. Here, use this to pay it. But will they? Bank of America could do that. I don't know how many derivatives Bank of America has signed up for. Bank of America has surprised a lot of people by taking on all the silver derivatives. Not that big of a surprise. If the silver riggers want to have one fall guy, why not make it a too big to fail bank so it has to be bailed out by the U.S. government? That's probably what's going to happen. It just seems everything's going to Bank of America. Anyway, that's where we are. Very interesting. If they miss this payment, I don't think Fitch, Moody's, and S&P can stand on their, on their take that it was just one bond that defaulted. It was two actually in November, and this is two more. If two more are missed today, they might say, okay, we're going to give them the 30-day grace period. They're not going to pay in 30 days. It's obvious. So a restricted default, you can't do that twice in a row. I don't think. If they do, it means they're going to try to push it out a little farther into the first quarter. But if they don't, all hell's going to break loose because everybody who has, it triggers so much, including the write-downs of what's on people's books for 2021, which would bankrupt a lot of companies. And again, it pulls the leg out from under. Something else happened this morning. Look at what happened to the silver price. It bumped up right against $23.40, I think it's 48 cents. And I talked about this yesterday again. It's right here. Right now, you're looking at $23.35, no, 38 cents. $23.38. That's why this happened. $23.41, bang, slam it down. This is amateur shit, if you ask me. I've been through some really good manipulation moves from silver. This is completely amateur, which tells me it's not JP Morgan. This is Bank of America trying to save this. The 50-day and 100-day moving average. Once it breaks over that, it's up, it'll hit the 200-day moving average really quickly, and then it's blue sky to $30, gets past that, blue sky to $50, gets past that, blue sky to the moon. And this could happen really fast. That's why this was such a big deal. This slam down on this little tiny spike, and then, uh-oh, what the hell's going on? The trader at Bank of America said, and he calls Jeffrey Christian. And he says, oh my God, Jeffrey, you better get on the news and say silver sucks, which he did the other day. His forecast for next year is silver's going to go down because. He didn't say why, he just says because. Jeffrey Christian is part of the plan. He is paid by Goldman Sachs, by JP Morgan, by all his banker buddies to say what he does. He is a paid shill. I hope everybody understands that. God knows Jeffrey understands that. All right. So that's where we are. Lots of exciting things going on at the end of the year. Again, for silver, keep an eye on what is right now around the 2340, 2350 range. These guys are going to protect that, probably Bank of America, and they have a lot of money. I mean, they have a lot of money to lose here. It's estimated they have leased over 500 million ounces of physical silver to keep the price down this year. And they did pay back a little bit. Hey, you guys want to know who the silver riggers are? And this is to Rustin Benham of the CFTC, the only regulator left, because Dawn DeBerry-Stump gave her resignation. So, of course, she doesn't have to go to work for the next 3 months. Dawn, I know you watch my show. You're still employed by the CFTC. I still pay you to watch the manipulation. Do you want to know who does it? Let's take a look at the COMEX's own numbers on silver manipulation. Let's start. Well, just go to the silver futures deliveries. That'll tell you who's rigging the market, okay? So we go down here to the deliveries. And the people rigging the market will be the largest delivery and stoppers and issuers. Stoppers meaning they take the silver, issuers meaning they give the silver. They have to pony up. So let's take a look. And we'll go from the bottom. A total of 9,000 contracts were delivered, 45 million ounces. That's a lot of silver. There's no justification for it. There's no justification for why all this silver is going in and out of COMEX trades. But hey, let's just find out who's doing it. We all know that silver market's rigged. We know it's rigged by a handful of 4 or 5 big players. Let's see who's doing it. Let's see, 4 contracts, 1 contract, 6 contracts. Oh my goodness, look at this. One entity, JP Morgan customers, 6,397 contracts. About 32 million ounces just from JP Morgan's customers who didn't do much all the way up till Jamie Dimon got the cease and desist order from the U.S. government. And by the way, they broke their covenant on that ruling. They weren't supposed to do anything illegal, and it was just found out a couple months ago that they did more illegal trading. So why even have a cease and desist order? Why even have, I forgot the name of it. And it's in, not only did they fine him $920 million, they said, you can't lie, cheat, and steal again, which they did. And it was on WhatsApp. This is not rocket science. Everybody knows if you want to hide things, you go on WhatsApp or you go on the Xbox chat. You don't think the JP Morgan's traders were doing that? Let's find out who they were talking with. JP Morgan Securities, right here. Look at JP Morgan house account did almost nothing all year. They just passed it off to their friends and family right here. But who else? Who are the other criminals? There's a handful. JP Morgan. Well, would you look at this? Bank of America, 4,949 contracts. Almost 25 million ounces they had to deliver. Bank of America. There's your 2 so far. JP Morgan, Bank of America. Both too big to fail banks. Both bullion banks. Both prime dealers of the Federal Reserve. By the way, Federal Reserve has the authority over these banks as their regulator. Let's not forget, Morgan Stanley had to deliver almost 5,000 ounces. They're a big player in this game too. Nobody is participating in silver on a large scale that is not involved in the con. So those are the dealers who are talking to each other. JP Morgan, for its customers, mind you. Bank of America, they had to coordinate somehow. Morgan Stanley, Scotia Capital, who's only a small participant now, but they're still in the game. Wells Fargo Securities. What the fuck is Wells Fargo doing in there? Again, a smaller participant. Goldman Sachs. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Goldman Sachs had to come up with, 3 million ounces of silver. I think this was the last few days of delivery in December. So they got the WhatsApp call. So there you go. That's who's in it. Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, Scotia Capital, a little bit. Bank of America, the largest player now. Morgan Stanley is in there, and JP Morgan is coordinating the whole thing. Don DeBerry Stump. The only regulator that's official regulator, because Rustin Benham is not the official, he's only the acting head of the CFTC. He's not going to do anything. Don DeBerry Stump gave her notice. She's gone at the beginning of next quarter, on April 1st. She's out. She's probably out already. And no, Don, you did not serve your entire 5-year term, not even close. Your 5-year term doesn't expire until the year after next. A 5-year term starts from when you take office. It doesn't start from when your name is put up for the position. But they lied about that just like they lie about everything. So we know who it is. Rustin Benham, what are you going to do about it? You're going to help tamp down the silver market? You're going to take your silver dagger. You don't have one of these. You're not spiritually inclined enough to have a silver dagger. Silver dagger is going to tamp you down. Rustin Benham, Don DeBerry Stump. Great name, Don DeBerry Stump. Don't stop acting like a stump. Get up and do something. The silver market's being rigged by these 4 or 5 players. What else do you need to know? Why does it take the Department of Justice to come in there and do your job for you? And JP Morgan paid a fine and said, we'll never do it again. And then they got busted for doing it again. for colluding with these same traders on WhatsApp. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. CFTC, I think the budget's like $130 million a year. For what are we paying them for? To run cover for these 4 or 5 banks. And the Federal Reserve? What would Ruta think? It's your comic book. What would Ruta think about how you're dealing with the regulation of your banks? Why are banks who have a license to print money for free even trading in gold and silver? Even trading in stocks and bonds? All they do is print money for free and buy other commodities and collude with each other to make sure they never lose. They never lose. Reminds me of Virtu Financial, that not so mysterious company controlled by Vincent Viola, who is an actual SLV authorized participant that's never taken a delivery of silver in their lives. Why? Because they're a high frequency trading organization. Vincent Viola started Virtu Financial, was called EWT LLC, right when Bernie Madoff started, and they came from the same area. Both of them ran 2 of the stock markets, the largest stock markets in the world. This is not rocket science, Dawn and Rustum. This is obvious to the world. Cryptos, I don't know what's about to happen. I did give a sense of what I think is going to happen on the timeline. Remember back to 2018 when Christian Carlo, the head of the CFTC, got together with Trump and Mnuchin, and who was it back then? Might have been Jerome Powell. And they decided to take down the crypto world by using the Bitcoin from Mt. Gox. But remember what happened in that crash. All the weaker companies, cryptos got destroyed. Most of them went out of business. Poof, cryptos went to zero. A lot of them went to zero. We need to be really smart about this. Have cryptos in your hand that you know will survive a banking collapse, a crypto collapse, a financial collapse. Because you know on the other side of this collapse, we got to start again. And there's not going to be many left standing. My favorites? Obviously, Veritasium will solve the problem, but it's hard to get. Some people trying to get it on DEX. I heard people are doing okay getting it there. Mercatox. I can't endorse any of them because Veritasium's not allowed to be traded. If anybody tells you, oh, Veritasium's a fraud, they are the ones that are a fraud. They need to do their homework. Most likely, it's an exchange, it's a brokerage house, it's a DeFi company. Why? Because Reggie has the patent on what they're doing. And they'd be out of business if they don't work with Reggie. But Reggie's willing to work with everybody. We'll see what happens in the new year. Definitely Veritasium. Theta is absolutely necessary for the future of the internet. So definitely Theta Fuel, T-Drop. I don't know where it's going to go between now and then. Everything could drop to zero and they shut down all markets. But when things start up again, you want certain things in your possession. I'm also a fan of Litecoin. I think Litecoin is the right coin as a means of exchange, especially with Mimblewimble. It's like cash. It's untraceable. It's decentralized untraceable. And there's big plans that the good guys and the bad guys have for Litecoin. Bitcoin, I don't know. Ethereum, you better talk to Reggie Middleton. You're using his technology. I don't know what's going to survive, but the vast majority are going to be gone, in my opinion. Anyway, I put this on the private road, my timeline from December through April, and it's a big one. It's gigantic. So go check that out. Also, I just posted at roadtoruta.com. If you go to the affiliate section, click on the affiliates. It shows who we're partners with all over the place. Click on Purple Power C60, and I talk with Ken Schwartz about the battle of the bio attack with Purple Power C60. Hot War is their only in-game. We discuss a lot of things that can't be discussed on YouTube. Go there. This is a public road discussion. go to affiliates and then click on C60, and you'll get the amazingly brilliant insight of Ken Swartz on not only your health, but on what's going on behind the scenes. And he talks a lot about Iraq, which I didn't even think was in the cards, but apparently it is. So go check that out. Again, this is Bix Weir, roadtoguru.com. Give me a like and subscribe, and we can keep this going. I'll talk to you later.